In this video, we're going to cover some of the sample apps that we provide as part of the developer experience for the Senza platform and give you a really quick demo of all of them. So this is going to be a whirlwind tour, and we're going to just scratch the surface of each of the apps. So if you want to get more information about each of the individual apps, we've got a lot of tutorials and some additional videos that you can watch. But in this case, this video is going to be just to give you a flavor of the wide range of apps that we have available for you. So if you check out our developer documentation in the tutorials section, you'll see that there's a link to the sample apps as well as the video tutorials. So we're going to click into that. This page has a little summary of each one of the apps, and we're going to click through it and then show you a live demo of each app. I also want to point out that we've got some sample code for every single app in our GitHub space. So if you check out the GitHub, you'll see that there's links to repositories for all of these apps. So you can go check them out and have a look at the source code, copy and paste them, the code, run them locally, etc. So what we're going to do is we are going to run a version of our launcher that powers the Content Hub in the simulator. So you can get to that just by going to senzadev.net. So we're going to go ahead and override the URL to that and then connect, and then you're going to see our launcher. We're going to be going through the demos more or less in alphabetical order, other than the first two. So some of them are sort of key concepts that you need to understand for Senza. Some of them are just fun playing around and illustrate various use cases. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive in. So the banner app is our reference code for how to switch between playing video in the foreground and the background. And it favors our favorite rabbit, Big Buck Bunny. So you'll see we've got the video playing right here, and I can use the arrow keys to skip around so I can jump a minute into the video. And when I hit the OK button, that's going to switch to the background mode so that it's just streaming the video directly, and you can watch the time code and see what's going on. And if I just hit the OK button again, it's going to switch back to foreground mode, and you can tell it's in foreground mode because of the banner. All right, that's the first app. What's up next? Video tutorials. You've probably already found the video tutorials because you're watching a video. We even have a tutorial on the tutorials app, so it's all very meta. But in this case, you can actually watch the videos about Senza on Senza. Again, very meta. So I'm going to select this one, and we can basically scroll up and down. Incidentally, this is a good example, if you want to look at the source code, for how to use the arrow keys to navigate up and down inside of a list of things, and it just scrolls the selected item in the list to be front and center. So I can go ahead and play an app like this. And I think that should play. If not, let's try again. All right, we're going to come back to that one. So about this device is just a very simple app that shows some information from the device info object. Some of the useful things here are that it shows the IP address of the user's actual device, so that's handy. If this were running on a physical device, we would also see an indication of the Wi-Fi signal strength. Artwork guidelines is both an illustration of how to display a PDF as well as useful information if you want to add your app to the Content Hub. it explains a little bit about the dimensions of the artwork that you'll need to supply. So literally very meta, because I had to follow the guidelines in this app in order to make the icon for this app. So that's the artwork guidelines. Chocolate is a demonstration of a digital signage use case that alternates between showing some plain HTML content, in this case, a little bit of word art, and then interspersed with a couple seconds of some very tempting video featuring chocolate, as the name implies. There we go. Ooh, that's making me hungry. All right, I'm going to switch back. Done It is actually an example of a game where we thought, why not have a text-based adventure game on your TV? So this is a game from the 70s, and normally you have to type commands like north, south, east, and west. But the idea here is that, for example, if you want to go to the east, you can just click on the right arrow key to type east and then OK, and then you can go there, and then I can go east again. And have a look at the tutorial. There's actually a couple of funny ways that you can type commands like this. So that's kind of fun. Let's go back. So Eagles is a demonstration of showing a YouTube video of the eagles in Big Bear Valley. Let's go ahead and see if the eagles are around. Normally they are in the nest. They appear to have gone for a fly, but this is a live video, so check back later and maybe you'll see our favorite feathered friends. Flags is a demonstration that shows how to, she basically shows what country you're in. I'm actually connected to the VPN right now. That's why it thinks I'm in the United Kingdom. There's a geolocation video that goes into detail on how that works. We actually do have a way that you can override that in the settings, where you can fake what country you're in. The Flights app is a digital signage example of the departure board that you would see at an international airport. And it illustrates a couple of useful techniques. It's all got a client-server architecture fed by APIs. It's got some nice localization with some custom fonts in different languages, and it uses some CSS animations so that you can see, for example, you'll see a subtle information when it switches from Arabic to English. There you go. And features some attractive cityscapes of various places. And let's move on to Fresco. So this is an example of a way that you can tile a video across multiple screens. So let's go and dive into that. The way that this works actually is it plays a video and overscans it, and we can use the remote control to effectively indicate which corner of the video we would like to be in. So if I go up and down, you'll see that this is, each of these is one corner of the image. So if you were running 4 of these, then you would see the whole video side by side. Hello is an example of device-based authentication. I believe this device should be registered. We've got a whole tutorial on this. It's not a very exciting demonstration. Normally it would just show me that I'm already signed in, we actually have a way that you can I need to figure out what the password is here. I need to go look up what the passwords are. Give me 1 second. Okay, we're going to come back to that one. But normally there is a whole tutorial, a whole video on this, as well as a tutorial that explains how to do the device-based authentication. The idea is if this device is already registered in the database, then it would go straight to a page saying, "Hello, Andrew," or something like that. I Conquer is actually a game that I wrote in 2002. It's a game of world conquest based on Risk. And this is just an example of how to use remote control navigation to select different items that are not necessarily in a grid. So as you can see, when I'm over here in China and I go up, it goes to this particular country. And so it uses an algorithm that understands the shape of the world the shape of each country to more or less do what you would expect it to do. So that's just an example of how to adapt an existing interface for remote control navigation. Imagine is a demonstration that shows how you can pair a smartphone and use the microphone there to capture some text, capture voice input that can be sent as text to the app, and then we're going to use it to generate an image using generative AI. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to zap that QR code, and then I'm going to go to the little web app. What should we generate? Let's see. A fish riding a bicycle in Miami. Okay, it's going to think on that now. Oh. That didn't work. Let's try one more time. Okay, we're going to try this one more time. A fish riding a bicycle in Miami. Interesting. That's not a fish. Okay, we're going to come back to this one, but that I think, oh, there we go. That's my fish. That's what I was looking for. That's really nice. I'm going to screenshot that. Okay, let's move on. Mosaic is kind of the opposite of Fresco. What this does is it shows you one video tiled multiple times on the screen. So just illustrating sort of the GPU capability that we can decode more than one video at the same time. If I use the left and right arrow keys, I'm actually going to skew them so they are at different time codes. So you'll see that if I do this quite a bit, you'll see that they get a little bit out of sync. And then if I arrow up, I can actually increase the number of copies of the video that I'm playing. So there we go. Signs is an example of a digital signage app. And what it does is it does a slideshow that's designed to be split across 4 different screens. So in this case, you'll see it's just going to have images of food slide one to the next. But if you had several of these side by side, the images would actually appear to slide from one screen to the other. And it's all coordinated with Node.js. So that's kind of a fun app. And Smart Remote is a way that we can make a version of a remote control that looks like this remote control, but it's got multiple features. Instead of just having buttons, you can use a trackpad, you can type, and you can give it voice commands as well. So I'm going to go ahead and zap that QR code right there. And then that takes me to a web page where if I use the arrow keys, I can move this little ball around. So if I just hit up and right, you see it moving. But if I put my thumb on the trackpad, I can actually move it around, and it's actually quite responsive. So that effectively gives you a much richer way of sending gesture-based input. I can type and talk at the same time. And I can also give it some voice commands. This is a voice command. How about that? So that's a fun app. Stream Saver, I'm going to cue this one up first, is an example of a screensaver. What it does is if you are essentially leaving an app on the screen for an extended amount of time, you don't want it to be charging you for using the GPU if it's not doing any work. So what this app actually does is it just keeps a little internal timer. And if I were to hit an arrow key, it would reset back to 30. But if it ever gets to video, it gets to 0, it just goes ahead and plays a video. So that can save you some money right there. Okay, subway status. We don't have a tutorial for this one yet, but this is just a fun example of recreation of the digital signage boards that you typically see in the New York City subway. You're going to have to hold your head sideways for this because normally this is meant to be displayed vertically. We can rotate it for you if you like. It's not exactly very serious. There's not really tsunamis, not usually. But if you want some more jokes, just basically hit the return key and you can see what's going on in New York. Okay, moving on. Tears of Steel is just a simple example of how to play encrypted video. This doesn't have any video in the local player. It's just got a little poster. But if I hit return, it's going to go ahead and play the video. When you get to see the rockets taking off, that's the point at which you know that it worked. So we will go ahead and watch that just for a second. What's really happening here in the demo is that it is sending a license request that we use for Widevine. Actually, I should mention that this is only designed to work in the physical device, so you're going to want to play that on a physical device in order to see it actually working properly. 3JS is actually a fork of a pretty cool 3D library. This is just an example of how I modified their existing demo system. You can use the up and down arrow keys to navigate between various 3D models. As you can see, this takes advantage of the GPU that we have in the cloud to get some really smooth animations. So this is where the icon comes from. Kind of just a little fun example of a bunch of 3D objects moving around. So just an example of how it's really easy to use the GPU. And again, I didn't write any code for this other than rewiring the up and down arrow keys to select different models. And for the next one, tic-tac-toe is one of the most advanced games ever. It's just tic-tac-toe. So you can use the arrow key to mark. Voila. That only took a few minutes to write, but basically it's just an example if you're not familiar with how the arrow key input works, just to show how that works. So very simple. Vertical is a quick example that shows how you can use some CSS transforms to take some content and display it at any animation and any orientation. So if you use the arrow keys, you'll see how it kind of, what it's doing is when it gets to about 45 degrees, it actually switches the orientation so that when it rotates, it lands in a format that fills the screen. It's subtle. And this uses some CSS animations too, just an example of how that works. WebGL Globe is a fork of an open source library for indicating data on a globe, like a map of the Earth. What we've done in the app is we've just made a very small change in our fork, which allows us to use the arrow keys to spin it around. So we essentially just added remote control navigation to the app, and I can hit enter to zoom in and escape to zoom out. So just took an existing app and hardwired the remote control keys to navigate around. Zombies, I'm going to show you a different time. This actually requires a separate app to be able to administer it, but essentially what it does is it creates allows you to send a push notification. Actually, you know, we can go ahead and click into that. It's not too much work. I gotta remember how it is that we get to the dashboard. I think we go to dashboard.html. So let's go ahead and try that. Senzadev.net zombies dashboard.html. I guess I obviously didn't do that right. Okay, check back for the full depth tutorial on that one. And last but not least, we have the Zoom app, which is a fun way of playing multiple videos at the same time. So you'll see that I've got a little picture-in-picture video there in the corner, and I use some fun CSS animations to be able to switch which one is big and which one is small. So if I just hit the down arrow, then you'll see that it animates like that. So it's a fun way of showing that we can decode two videos at the same time, switch back and forth. And if you do this on a device, you'll actually hear that the audio crossfades as we are switching between them. And whichever one is big, if I switch to the video player, then you'll see that it just plays the one video. If I switch back, then you see the picture-in-picture. So in this case, it's showing the same video at two different play codes, but you could obviously do this with two different videos as well. All right, we made it to the bottom. So thank you for watching if you've made it this far. Sorry about some of the demos that didn't work, but that's how it goes when everything is live. Check back for some detailed video tutorials that go into greater detail on some of these apps. And happy coding. Thanks for watching.